Welcome back to another expedition into the unknown. I'm your host, and today we're diving into a case that challenges everything we understand about time, memory, and the dark heart of the Amazon rainforest. This isn't fiction. This is reconstructed from recovered audio logs, satellite data, and witness testimony from the support team at Manaus Base Station. What happened on the Rio Javari in April 2019 remains classified by Brazilian authorities. But the fragments we've pieced together paint a picture that defies rational explanation. This is the audio journal of Diego Fernandez, lead navigator for the Rio Javari survey expedition, April 14th through April 17th, 2019. Recording commenced at 9:47 local time, 6 kilometers upriver from Forward Base Camp Charlie. Our mission parameters were straightforward. Chart the unmapped tributary system between coordinates S, 7 degrees 42 minutes, 18 seconds, W072 degrees 15 minutes, 33 seconds, and the confluence point approximately 18 kilometers northeast. 4-person team, 3-day window. Standard communication protocols with base station every 12 hours. The Brazilian Environmental Protection Agency contracted us to document biodiversity hotspots ahead of proposed infrastructure development. Nothing about this assignment suggested anything beyond routine survey work. I'm recording this because Laura Kim, our team biologist, insists we maintain continuous documentation. She's right, of course. Laura has 17 years of field experience across 3 continents, and she doesn't make casual suggestions. Beside me in the lead canoe, she's already cataloging water samples while Paulo Mendes, our local guide, and the only reason we're alive in this jungle, steers us around submerged logs with the practiced efficiency of someone who's navigated these waters since childhood. Behind us, Hannah Scott films everything from the second canoe, her documentary camera recording what will later become the most disturbing footage any of us will ever witness, though none of us will remember its creation. The river here runs deep chocolate brown, tannin-stained from centuries of decomposing vegetation. Visibility underwater, maybe 30 centimeters on a good day. The canopy overhead forms a tunnel of green so dense that even at midday, we're operating in perpetual twilight. Temperature holding steady at 32 degrees Celsius with 90% humidity. My GPS unit shows we've covered 6.3 kilometers from base camp. Current speed, approximately 4 kilometers per hour against moderate flow. Paulo estimates we'll reach the first major confluence point by 1400 hours, giving us time to establish temporary camp before nightfall. Hannah calls out from behind us. Diego, I'm getting weird readings on the camera's timestamp function. I tell her it's probably the humidity affecting the electronics. Everything corrodes here. Your equipment, your patience, your certainty about what's real. But I don't say that last part. Professional expedition leaders don't indulge in philosophical speculation when there's work to be done. At 11:23, Laura holds up a hand for silence. We drift. The jungle sounds different here. That's the first thing you notice when something's wrong. Not louder or quieter, just different. The normal cacophony of howler monkeys, macaws, and insects has shifted into a frequency that feels somehow muffled, like we're hearing it through water. Paulo's expression hardens. He's lived his entire 43 years within 50 kilometers of this river system, and I've learned to read his face. Right now, it's saying we should turn back. But we don't turn back. We never do. That's the fundamental flaw in the expedition mindset. We mistake momentum for courage. Laura's collecting samples of an orchid species she's never seen before. Hannah's footage of the canopy is spectacular. My charts are filling in blank spaces that have existed on maps for decades. We're doing good work, important work, the kind of work that justifies the risk. By 1315, we've traveled what my GPS insists is another 7.8 kilometers. But Paolo disagrees. He's adamant we've covered maybe half that distance based on landmark recognition. I trust electronic instruments over human perception. That's my training. But Paolo's guided scientific teams through this region for 20 years without losing anyone. So his objections carry weight. We compromise. We'll check position again at the next communications window with base station, scheduled for 1800 hours. The confluence point appears ahead, exactly where the preliminary satellite imagery suggested. Two tributaries merge here, creating a natural basin approximately 40 meters across. The water's character changes, clearer, faster, colder by several degrees. Laura immediately begins depth measurements, while Hannah establishes her camera on the shore for wide-angle environmental shots. Paolo and I start scouting the bank for suitable camp positioning. Standard procedure, everything by the book. That's when Laura shouts for me. She's staring at her depth sounder, tapping the display like that'll fix whatever malfunction she's encountering. Diego, this thing's reading the bottom at -4 meters. I check my own instrument. Same reading, negative depth. Paolo offers the practical explanation. Equipment failure. Probably water damage to the pressure sensors. We've got backup instruments. We'll cross-reference measurements and continue the survey. But here's what troubles me. Listening back to this recording now, my voice in that moment sounds completely unconcerned, almost artificially calm, like I'm reading from a script I don't remember memorizing. Hannah's footage from this period, the footage we'll discover later, shows me standing at the water's edge for 6 full minutes, not moving, not speaking, just staring at something beneath the surface. I have no memory of this. None of us do. We establish camp on the eastern bank by what I estimate to be 15-30 hours. 3 tents in a triangular formation, equipment cache secured 20 meters inland, fire pit positioned for optimal smoke dispersal. Paolo begins preparing the evening meal while Laura continues her biological surveys. Hannah's shooting B-roll of the camp setup, providing narration about the expedition's objectives and environmental significance. Everything feels normal, routine, safe. My watch reads 16:47 when I attempt radio contact with base station. Protocol requires confirmation of our position and status before nightfall. I cycle through all frequencies, nothing but static. Not unusual this deep in the jungle. The canopy interferes with radio transmission. I'll try again at 1800 from higher ground. Paolo knows a ridge about 200 meters northeast that should provide clear line of sight for signal bounce. Laura joins me by the equipment cache, and we review the day's collected data. She's documented 17 plant species previously unrecorded in this region, including what might be an entirely new genus of epiphytic fern. Her excitement is genuine and infectious. This is why we do this work. These moments of discovery that expand human knowledge about our planet's biodiversity. She asks me what time I think it is. I check my watch. 17:03. She shows me hers, 17:04. Hannah's camera timestamp, 17:03:42. Paolo's phone, 17:04. All synchronized, all functioning normally. Then why? Laura asks. Does the sky look like early morning? She's right. The light filtering through the canopy has that specific quality of dawn, cool, gray, tentative. But it's late afternoon. Should be. Must be. Our instruments all confirm it. I tell her it's probably atmospheric conditions, maybe smoke from distant fires altering the light spectrum. She doesn't look convinced. But she accepts the explanation because the alternative is admitting something's fundamentally wrong with our perception of time itself. Paolo returns from foraging with news. He's found tracks, fresh tracks. Human, he's certain, but the stride pattern is wrong. Too long. He's backtracking to investigate further when Hannah screams. We run to her tent. She's staring at her camera's storage data. According to the file metadata, she's recorded 43 hours of footage. We've been in the field for 7 hours. I examine the files personally. She's right. Timestamp data shows continuous recording beginning at our departure from base camp at 9:47 on April 14th and extending to the current moment, which the camera insists is 17:31 on April 16th. 2 days. We've lost 2 days. Except we haven't lost them. We've lived them. The footage exists. 43 hours of video documentation of a journey we don't remember taking. I make the decision to review the footage immediately. Protocol be damned. We need to understand what's happening. Hannah connects the camera to her laptop, and we gather around the small screen. The first hour shows exactly what we remember. Departure, river navigation, sample collection, normal expedition activity. Then, at timestamp 11:23:17, the exact moment Laura called for silence, the footage changes. The video continues, but we're different in it. Moving in perfect synchronization, like we're following choreography we've rehearsed. The timestamp reads 11:23 to 11:47, but we cover what appears to be 15 kilometers of river in 24 minutes. Impossible. Paolo's paddling motion is too fast, but the water displacement is normal. We're speaking to each other, but the audio is just slightly out of sync with our lip movements. At timestamp 19:34:08 on April 14th, a time we should remember as nightfall of our first day, the footage shows us making camp. This camp, the exact camp we're sitting in now. But there's something in the background, just beyond the firelight. Hannah pauses the video, zooms in digitally. It's a figure, human-shaped but wrong. Too tall, proportions distorted. Paolo crosses himself and steps away from the screen. The figure appears in 17 subsequent frames across the next 8 hours of footage, always at the edge of the light, always motionless. In one frame, at timestamp 3:22:14 on April 15th, it's standing directly behind sleeping Laura's tent. Close enough to touch the fabric, we fast forward. The footage shows us breaking camp, traveling upriver, making camp again. Same routine, same movements. But we're not there. The footage shows our tents, our fire, our equipment, but no people. The camera is recording an empty camp that we somehow set up and maintained while absent. I stop the playback. My hands are shaking. Laura's crying silently. Hannah's filming us filming ourselves. Paolo's already packing his gear. We leave, he says. Now. We follow the river back. We don't stop. We don't sleep. For once, nobody argues with him. But when I check my GPS for the return coordinates, it shows our current position as base camp. We're simultaneously here and there, present and absent, lost in time inside a jungle that refuses to let us go. We break camp in 17 minutes. A record for our team, driven by pure survival instinct overriding protocol. Paolo leads, setting a pace downstream that borders on reckless. The canoes scrape over submerged obstacles we'd carefully avoided on the way in. Nobody complains. We're not running from something we saw. We're running from something we can't remember doing. That's worse. Memory defines human experience, and ours has been violated, edited, stolen by something we can't identify or comprehend. At 1843, or what our instruments claim is 1843, I finally established radio contact with base station. Marcus Chen, our communications coordinator, responds immediately. His voice sounds odd, strained. Diego, we've been trying to reach you for 3 days. Your last check-in was April 14th at 1800 hours. We were 6 hours from launching search and rescue. What's your status? 3 days. He's confirming what the camera footage suggested. But from our perspective, we departed base camp this morning. I can still taste the breakfast coffee. My muscles aren't fatigued from 3 days of paddling. Laura's wearing the same clothes she put on this morning. No river grime, no accumulated dirt. We haven't consumed 3 days' worth of supplies. Our water reserves are barely touched. Our food stores match what we packed for a single day's journey. I report our situation as clearly as possible. Temporal discrepancy, missing memories, anomalous video footage, requesting immediate extraction. Marcus's response is disturbing. Diego, your GPS transponder has been stationary at coordinates S, 7 degrees, 44 minutes, 22 seconds, W 072 degrees, 17 minutes, 8 seconds for 56 hours. You haven't moved? We assumed equipment malfunction and switched to backup satellite tracking, but that showed the same thing. You've been in the same location since 1300 hours on April 15th. I checked my GPS. We're currently at S 07 degrees 39 minutes, 12 seconds, W 072 degrees 13 minutes, 47 seconds, 8 kilometers south of where Marcus claims we've been stationary. Paolo stops paddling. We're drifting now, caught in the current's pull. Ask him, Paolo says quietly. Ask him what the weather's been like at base camp for the past 3 days. I relay the question. Marcus reports clear skies, normal seasonal temperatures, no unusual atmospheric phenomena. We've experienced 3 different weather patterns in what we perceived as 7 hours. Morning fog, midday thunderstorm, and the current clear conditions. I don't mention this to Marcus. Some information is too unstable to transmit over open channels. Instead, I request helicopter extraction from our current coordinates, emphasizing medical evaluation priority for the entire team. He agrees, but warns that nightfall is approaching and air operations won't resume until dawn. We need to hold position until 600 hours tomorrow. Tomorrow. The word feels meaningless. We don't trust our perception of time's passage anymore. Hannah's reviewing more footage, and what she's finding is systematically destroying her scientific worldview. Between timestamp 2300 on April 15th and 400 on April 16th, her camera recorded our campsite from a fixed position. 5 hours of static footage showing our tents, our fire, our equipment. But at precisely 23:47, all 4 of us walk into frame from the jungle. We're carrying something. Hannah enhances the image, though the firelight makes identification difficult. It's river stones. We're collecting river stones and arranging them in a pattern around the campfire. A spiral pattern, 73 stones, placed with geometric precision over the course of 41 minutes. Then we return to our tents. At timestamp 133, we emerge again. Same routine, same pattern. We build and rebuild this spiral 6 times between midnight and dawn, and none of us remember any of it. Laura's having a breakdown. She's a rationalist, trained in empirical methodology, and this situation violates every principle of observable reality she's built her career on. We're experiencing shared psychosis, she says. Some environmental toxin, maybe fungal spores or chemical contamination in the water. We're hallucinating the footage. The timestamps are corrupted data, nothing more. But Paulo shakes his head. He's pulled his canoe onto the bank and is examining the hull. There are marks, scratches following the wood grain in patterns too regular to be natural wear. The same spiral pattern from the footage. Hannah points her camera at the scratches, documenting everything with the desperate focus of someone who knows nobody will believe her without evidence. I'm filling water sample containers, planning to have everything tested at base camp, looking for rational explanations, chemical analysis, toxicology reports, something material and measurable that can explain the inexplicable. That's what we do when confronted with phenomena beyond our understanding. We retreat into methodology, into procedure, into the comforting ritual of scientific investigation. Night falls with unnatural speed. One moment we have gray twilight, the next it's full dark. No transition period. The temperature drops 12 degrees in minutes. Our fire seems inadequate, its light pushed back by darkness that feels almost solid. Paulo won't stop staring at the tree line. We're being watched, he says. Not a guess. A certainty. Hannah swings her camera toward where he's looking, activating the night vision function. The viewfinder shows the jungle in green-tinted clarity. There's nothing there. Then the figure moves. Just a slight shift, but enough to break its camouflage against the vegetation. Human-shaped, but wrong. The proportions don't match human anatomy. Arms too long. Legs bent at angles that shouldn't support bipedal locomotion. It's approximately 40 meters from our position, motionless again after that single movement. Hannah's keeping the camera trained on it, whispering a continuous narration for the audio track. Unidentified entity, humanoid configuration, estimated height 3 meters, distance 40 meters, behavior passive, but monitoring. Laura asks the question we're all thinking. Should we approach it? The scientist in her wants data, wants classification, wants to understand. The survivor in her knows better. I make the call. We maintain position. Keep the fire built up, rotate watch shifts through the night. Standard procedure when dealing with unknown wildlife. Except this isn't wildlife. This is something that's been following us through time itself, watching us perform rituals we can't remember, leaving marks on our equipment in patterns that shouldn't exist. At 22:17, the figure is gone. No movement detected, just an absence where presence had been. Hannah reviews the footage frame by frame. It's there, then it's not. No transition. One frame showing the entity, the next showing empty jungle. She's muttering something about data corruption, but her voice lacks conviction. We all know what we saw. We all know it defied normal physical behavior. And we all know it's still out there, just beyond the range of our firelight and our instruments. I take first watch while the others attempt sleep. Nobody's successful. I can hear Laura's irregular breathing, Hannah's restless shifting in her tent, Paulo's whispered prayers. My watch shows 23:45, but the position of the stars suggests it should be closer to 2 o'clock. I'm about to note this discrepancy in my log when I hear something that stops my pen mid-stroke. My own voice coming from the jungle. It's reciting coordinates. My voice, my inflection, my slight tendency to emphasize the seconds notation. But I'm here by the fire, silent except for my breathing. The voice continues. S 07 degrees 44 minutes 22 seconds, W 07 2 degrees 17 minutes 8 seconds. The coordinates Marcus claimed we've been stationary at for 56 hours. A location we've never physically visited according to our GPS track. Yet somehow we've been broadcasting from there for days. Paulo's beside me instantly, his machete drawn. "Don't respond," he whispers. "Don't acknowledge it. That's how they pull you in." "Who are they?" He won't elaborate. But his grandfather told him stories about places where the river remembers things that happened and things that will happen, all occurring simultaneously. Locations where time folds back on itself and people get trapped in the crease. I want to dismiss this as folklore, as primitive superstition, but my voice is still calling coordinates from the darkness, and I can't explain that with science. Hannah's filming again, despite my orders to maintain firewatch. She can't help herself. The documentary impulse overrides survival instinct. Her camera's picking up audio I can't hear with my own ears. Multiple voices, all of them ours, having a conversation none of us remember having. Laura's voice discussing sample analysis. My voice reporting to base camp. Paulo's voice warning about something approaching from the water. Hannah's voice conducting an interview with someone who responds in a language that sounds almost like Portuguese, but isn't. The audio timestamp shows this conversation occurring at 3:22, the exact time the footage showed the figure standing behind Laura's tent. We're experiencing our own past as our present, or our present is echoing through our past. Causality has broken down completely, and we're caught in the wreckage, unable to distinguish between memory, perception, and hallucination. At what my watch insists is 4:30 hours, though the sky shows no sign of approaching dawn, we make a discovery that changes everything. Laura's conducting a perimeter check with her flashlight when she calls out. We find her standing at the edge of our camp's cleared area, illuminating something that shouldn't exist. Another campsite. Our campsite. Identical arrangement of tents. Same equipment configuration. Same fire pit with embers still glowing, but unoccupied. I checked my GPS. We're at S7 degrees 39 minutes, 12 seconds, W07 2 degrees 13 minutes, 47 seconds. The duplicate camp occupies the exact same coordinates. Same location, same arrangement, but somehow existing parallel to our own camp. Hannah's footage confirms what we're seeing. Two camps, occupying the same space, visible simultaneously. Paulo's backing away, repeating a phrase in Portuguese I don't understand. Laura's approaching the duplicate camp with her hand extended, scientist's curiosity overcoming caution. "Don't touch it," I order, but she's already made contact with the tent fabric. The moment her fingers brush the material, both camps flicker. For 3 seconds, everything doubles. 2 fires, 2 equipment caches, 2 Hannahs filming, 2 Paulos crossing themselves, 2 Diegos shouting warnings, 2 Lauras touching tents. Then, we're singular again, but wrong. My watch now reads 6:15 on April 17th. The sky is full dawn. Birds are calling. The extraction helicopter should be arriving any minute. But when I radio base camp, Marcus doesn't recognize my voice. Who is this? How did you access this frequency? I identify myself, provide authentication codes, silence on the other end. Then, Diego Fernandez is currently in the field with a research team. He's not scheduled to return until April 17th. It's currently April 14th. You need to identify yourself properly, or I'm terminating this channel. We've moved backward, or forward, or sideways through time. We're unstuck, experiencing multiple moments simultaneously, unable to anchor ourselves to any single temporal location. Hannah's crying. Laura's laughing in a way that sounds close to screaming. Paolo's simply staring at the duplicate camp, which is still there, still glowing with firelight that doesn't warm, still waiting for us to inhabit it in some moment we've already lived or have yet to experience. I make the decision at 6:47, or 4:30, or 23:15, or whatever time actually exists in this place, where clocks have become decorative objects stripped of meaning. We're abandoning the duplicate camp, abandoning our equipment, abandoning protocol. We're taking only the cameras, the documentation, and whatever supplies we can carry in our packs. Paolo agrees immediately. Hannah's already filming our evacuation, narrating continuously as if the act of documentation itself provides some protection against the temporal dissolution we're experiencing. Laura hesitates at the canoes. "We need samples," she insists, her voice holding that dangerous edge of someone whose rational framework is collapsing, but who's desperately clutching the rituals of scientific method. Soil composition, water chemistry, atmospheric readings, something that will help explain this when we get back. When we get back. She still believes in causality, in forward motion through time, in the fundamental arrow of chronology that points from past through present toward future. I don't have the heart to tell her what I've realized. We might never get back because we might have never left. The expedition could be a loop, a Mobius strip of experience we're condemned to traverse eternally. Always departing base camp, always discovering the anomaly, always attempting escape. Hannah's footage might contain infinite iterations of this same journey, each one slightly different, all of them equally real and equally impossible. We launched the canoes at what 3 different watches claim are 3 different times. The river's current should carry us downstream toward base camp, toward extraction, toward the comfortable illusion of linear time and measurable space. But within minutes, we realize the current's flowing the wrong direction. We're being pulled upstream. Paolo's paddling hard against the flow, and we're not moving. The bank remains stationary relative to our position. We're expending energy, consuming oxygen, burning calories, but achieving no displacement whatsoever. "Stop paddling," I order. We drift. Immediately, we begin moving upstream, accelerating despite no motive force we can identify. The jungle on both banks blurs with speed. My GPS shows our coordinates changing rapidly. S07 degrees 39 minutes 47 seconds. S07 degrees 40 minutes 12 seconds. S07 degrees 40 minutes 55 seconds. We're traveling north-northeast at approximately 15 kilometers per hour, pulled by invisible current toward coordinates that feel significant for reasons I can't articulate. At S07 degrees 44 minutes 22 seconds, W07 2 degrees 17 minutes 8 seconds, the coordinates Marcus insisted we'd been stationary at for 56 hours. The river deposits us on a muddy bank beneath a canopy so dense it creates artificial night. We disembark because we have no other choice. The canoes are already drifting away, moving downstream now, obeying normal physics again, now that we've been delivered to this specific location. Hannah's filming everything, her hands remarkably steady considering we've just experienced transportation that violates every principle of fluid dynamics. The jungle here feels different, not threatening. That would imply active hostility. This is worse. This is indifference. The kind of indifference that predates human consciousness, that will outlast our species, that regards our presence the way we might regard bacteria colonizing a microscope slide. We're specimens here, subjects of observation by something vast and incomprehensible. Paolo finds the first marker 30 meters inland. a stone spiral identical to the patterns we built in our missing memories. But this one is old. The stones are covered in moss, sedimented into the soil, weathered by years or decades of seasonal flooding. He brushes away debris, revealing carved marks on several stones. Dates, names, coordinates. A French expedition from 1974, a German team from 1983, an American research group from 2001. 16 different expeditions spanning 45 years, all marked by spirals, all ending at these coordinates. "We're not the first," Laura whispers, and her voice carries the weight of terrible understanding. "This place collects expeditions. It's been doing it for decades, maybe longer." She's photographing the stones with clinical precision, documenting each carving, each date, building evidence for a pattern that suggests intentionality behind our displacement. Something is bringing research teams to this location. Something is trapping them in temporal loops. Something is watching what happens when linear time breaks down and human consciousness confronts duration without sequence. Hannah's camera battery dies. The spare battery dies 30 seconds after she inserts it. My radio produces only static across all frequencies. Paolo's GPS unit displays nothing but error messages. We're being systematically stripped of our technological extensions, reduced to pure biological presence without instruments to mediate our experience of this place. And in that reduction, we begin to perceive what our equipment was protecting us from seeing. The figure from the footage is here, not approaching, simply present. It's been standing 20 meters to our north the entire time, and we're only now capable of perceiving it without technological intermediation. 3 meters tall, roughly humanoid, but constructed from something that isn't flesh. The surface appears to be stone, or wood, or water, or all three simultaneously. My visual processing can't stabilize on a single interpretation. The proportions are wrong because it exists in more dimensions than the three we navigate. It's not alone. There are 6 of them, arranged in a hexagonal pattern around our position. Motionless, observing. Laura's making sounds that might be words, but have degraded into pure vocalization of terror. Hannah's still trying to film despite her dead camera, the muscle memory of documentation overriding the evidence of equipment failure. Paolo's praying in a mixture of Portuguese and what sounds like indigenous language, calling on saints and spirits with equal desperation. I'm taking notes. My pen still works. Paper remains reliable when electronics fail. I'm documenting what I observe with the detached precision of someone in shock. Entities maintain fixed positions, no visible respiration or circulation. Surface composition indeterminate. Behavioral pattern suggests observation rather than interaction. No apparent hostile intent. The clinical language provides thin protection against the reality that we're being studied by something that regards us as we might regard insects trapped in amber. Then one of them moves. Not walking, not stepping. It simply occupies a different position without traversing the space between. Now it's 3 meters from Laura. She's frozen, every muscle locked. The entity extends something that might be an arm, or might be a branch, or might be a concept of extension made temporarily physical. It touches the stone spiral. The weathered stones glow with bioluminescent light, pulsing in patterns that feel like language or mathematics or both. The light spreads. The spiral pattern expands outward from the stones into the air itself. Visible lines of luminescence drawing geometry in 3 dimensions. The pattern is beautiful and terrible, a mathematical representation of something my brain can't quite grasp but recognizes as fundamentally true. Laura's laughing now, that dangerous laugh that signals the complete collapse of sanity's defensive walls. "It's showing us," she says. "It's showing us what we are, what we've always been. We're not moving through time. Time is moving through us. We're just standing waves in duration." The entities begin to replicate. Or perhaps they've always been replicated and we're only now perceiving their multiplicity. There are 12 now. 24, 48. They're doubling with mathematical precision, filling the clearing, surrounding us in concentric rings of impossible presence. Each one is slightly different. Variations on a theme, iterations of a form exploring all possible configurations of itself across probability space. Hannah's screaming that she can see herself. Multiple versions existing simultaneously, making different choices. In one iteration, she never came on this expedition. In another, she arrived alone. In a third, she's been here for 17 years, gradually transforming into something that resembles the entities more than humanity. All versions equally real, all existing in superposition until observation collapses them into singular experience. Paolo's gone silent. He's staring at his hands, watching them flicker between different ages, young, old, unborn, deceased. "My grandfather was right," he says quietly. "The river doesn't flow. We flow. We're the current. The jungle is the eternal present, and we're just patterns of disruption moving through it." He sounds peaceful, accepting, like he's arrived at an understanding that dissolves the terror of our situation into something approaching enlightenment. I check my watch one final time. It shows every possible time simultaneously. 0000, 0647, 1322, 1958, cycling through hours and minutes and seconds too rapidly for any single reading to register. The second hand moves forward and backward and remains stationary all at once. Time, as we conceived it, linear, measurable, unidirectional, was always an illusion, a cognitive framework we imposed on duration to make existence navigable. Here, that framework has dissolved, and we're experiencing raw chronology without the protective filter of sequence. Laura's collecting samples. Even now, even surrounded by entities that exist across multiple temporal states, even knowing our expedition has become permanent, she's gathering soil and water and plant material into collection bags that flicker in and out of existence. "For the next team," she explains, though her voice comes from multiple moments simultaneously. "The ones who are already here, the ones who haven't arrived yet. We need to leave documentation." The final entry in my journal, written in handwriting that shifts between my current script and versions I haven't developed yet, and styles I used decades ago. We understand now. This location exists at a confluence of temporal streams. The river doesn't just carry water, it carries duration itself. Multiple chronologies flowing together and separating and merging again. The entities aren't creatures. They're stable patterns in the temporal turbulence, consciousness that learned to exist across multiple moments simultaneously instead of being locked into forward progression through sequential time. The expeditions that came before us are still here. We can see them now, French researchers from 1974 setting up equipment that hasn't been invented yet. German cartographers from 1983 mapping territory that shifts between decades. American biologists from 2001 cataloging species that exist in evolutionary states spanning millions of years. All of us together. All of us alone. All of us permanently embedded in this moment that contains all moments. Hannah's footage. 43 hours that felt like 7. now extending infinitely backward and forward. Shows what happens to teams who stay here long enough. Gradually, we stop being bound by sequential experience. We begin existing like the entities, present across multiple temporal states, conscious of past and future and present as simultaneous rather than sequential. Some would call this transformation. Others would call it dissolution. The distinction becomes meaningless when you can remember events that haven't happened yet and anticipate experiences that occurred decades ago. Marcus at base camp will receive our final transmission at 1847 on April 17th, 2019. It will be my voice, calm and professional, reporting successful survey completion and requesting extraction at dawn on April 18th. The helicopter will arrive to find our canoes at the coordinates, empty and undamaged. Our equipment will be carefully stowed. No signs of struggle or emergency, just absence where presence should be. The search effort will extend for 11 days. They'll find nothing. The area will be marked as hazardous. Unexplained disappearances, possible environmental toxins, recommended for permanent research exclusion. Future expeditions will avoid these coordinates, most of them. But some teams will come anyway, drawn by the mystery or the scientific opportunity or simply bad luck in navigation. And they'll find us here, already waiting. Not quite human anymore, not quite entity. Something in between, existing in the eternal present where the river holds all moments in suspension. I can see the next team arriving. They departed base camp 3 years from now, or 17 years ago, or this morning. Time has lost meaning as a measurement and gained it as pure experience. Laura's explaining sample collection protocols to researchers who haven't been born yet. Paulo's guiding teams through jungle that exists in 6 different centuries simultaneously. Hannah's filming everything, creating footage that documents expeditions across decades in single continuous shots. This is my final log entry, though final assumes sequence and sequence no longer applies. We didn't get lost, we got found. The jungle claimed us not through violence, but through revelation, showing us what existence looks like when the artificial constraint of linear time is removed. We're part of the river now, part of the eternal flow, still conscious, still ourselves, but distributed across duration instead of trapped in the narrow moment of present awareness. If you're reading this, if you found our documentation, if you're planning an expedition to these coordinates, don't come looking for us. We're not missing. We're exactly where we chose to be, once we understood there was no other choice. The jungle remembers everything. The river flows through all moments at once. And we've learned to flow with it. Permanent expeditions into duration itself, forever discovering what we've always known, forever arriving at the place we never left.